Well, I'm fixing to do something that kind of hurts my heart just a little bit. Looking at this beautifully manicured garden beds, and I'm fixing to have to tramp through it. I just hate to put footprints in that. That is beautiful. But we got to. We're gonna plant some onions. So what I'm gonna do first is go through here with a Hoss wheel hoe, cut a furrow down through there. And normally you're gonna plant onions on a hill, but I'm gonna go plant. First of all, I'm gonna put I'm gonna dig a furrow. I'm gonna put some wood ash in that furrow, and then I'm gonna cover it up, and then I'm gonna make that furrow. I mean that raised bed, the raised hill there, and put my onions on top of it. Fifth theory being the onions are gonna be feeding off that potash, that wood ash that's beneath it. I've always heard, and has always worked well for me, that any kind of root crop, I usually, if I've got some, I'll take some wood ash out of the wood stove and put it down and let root crops have some extra potash. So that's what we're gonna do. I'll show you digging the fur and spreading a little bit of wood ash in it, and then we'll cover it back up and plant some onions on top. Sweet onions. These are 1015Ys, which is an Aggie, Texas Aggie, Texas A&M, 1015, and the Y stands for yellow. It's a yellow onion, 1015Y, sweet onion, sweet, sweet, sweet. And I'll tell you how to keep them sweet while you're growing them. Let's start digging that fur. And yes, I put a string on my garden, get the rows straight. If not, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Got to have straight rows. Now, I have in the past just side dressed with ashes like you do fertilizer or something like that, but this year I decided to go ahead and put the ashes down first, cover it up with the plow, the Hoss plow, and then plant the onions on top of that. Now, this is my high arch wheel hoe, and as you can see, I've got it set on making a furrow with the plows pointed inward, pitching the dirt out. And so all you gotta do is reverse them, swap them out, and it does just the opposite, throws the dirt on top. And all you need to carry out in the field with you is a 9/16 wrench. Let's flop them around. So this one will come off, and we'll go on that side. It will be throwing the dirt inward now. Now, I haven't done this as far as covering these up. I've never done that before, so I'm not sure how, if I've got it set wide enough or whatever. We'll find out. I think it'll be all right. Around here, we plant onions in sets. And by that, I mean that is a set. That is a bunch. we buy our onions in bunches, and they there's about 50 in a bunch. They don't count them, I don't think, but around 50 in a bunch. And occasionally, these are 10, 15 Aggie yellow onions, but occasionally they throw a white one in there. Apparently has a white onion there. But these planted right, fertilized right, should grow big. I'm gonna plant these about 6 inches apart, simply because I expect them to get about 3 inches in diameter, about as big as a softball. Not all of them, but the majority of them, I hope. We'll even plant old Whitey there, okay? But let me show you how I put them in the ground. That's pretty crucial to them getting big. So when I plant, I'm gonna put the root in the ground at about another 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. It will be down in the ground about that far, okay? It can go 1 inch, but they're not gonna get big. Your ground has to be real tilly, has to have a good tilth to it for that onion to want to expand. My ground can get hard, and I want to plant it about a 1/2 inch past that root. The root and about a 1/2 inch more of the onion. And that'll make them get big. Most of the onions are going to be on top of the ground when they start growing. Now, you'll see that later on this year. But that will make them get big and go crazy and be sweet. That's plant for you. Now, like I say, up north, you folks may plant, some people plant from seed, and I don't know anybody around here that plants from seed. There may be 1 out of 100 gardeners that does. We're just going to put a little hole in the ground, very small, very light, and then pinch the onion around it. Hole, pinch that onion around it. Hole. And another thing, the reason I like this raised hill here is last year I lost a bunch of onions because it came a big rain and a bunch of them flooded away. Now I've got this little trough on either side. If I get a hard rain, got a little trough on either side that will stop the water from washing my onions away. We don't like that. We don't want them washed away. We spend a lot of time working on them. So a little bit of hole, put them in the ground. That's the way you plant onions. That's the way you plant them to get big. Just pinch that around there. You want it pinched enough where those roots come in contact good with the ground. And I've got 2 bunches, about 100 onions. That's all I'm gonna plant this year. And let me just get on with the row and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Well, there they are, planted. And I only planted one bunch. There's a whole lot more than 50 in a bunch. Probably more like 75 or 80. Now, will I plant another row? I don't know. We don't, unless we're gonna give them away, we don't need them. So I may or may not. I've got one bunch left, and I may give them to somebody. So that's the way we plant them, the way I plant them, and I have been pretty successful. If I can find a picture of some of the onions I grew, I will put them on the screen right about now and show you that I kind of know what I'm talking about. Now I haven't done, at least in a long time, I haven't done the furrow with the ashes in it. I usually just put the ashes on the side, just top dress them with ashes, you know, once or twice, and then a little bit of fertilizer. Now the key to making these sweet, to keeping these sweet, these are sweet onions. You can make them into hot onions. Not really hot, but hotter than what you want them to be. Hotter than what I want them to be. And that is high nitrogen fertilizer. It has been my experience, and that is what a super duper onion grower has told me, is that fertilizer, high nitrogen fertilizer will make them hot. The best onions I've ever grown, all I did was put, I grew them in a raised bed garden, and all I did was put compost on top of them. I put about a 1/2 inch of compost, just sack compost I bought at the store. And those were the biggest and the sweetest, best onions that that I've ever grown. So that's kind of the plan this time. I made, because last year I got them hot. I did. I planted late. We had a rain, washed all my first planting away, and because of that, we got more rain. I was just late in planting them. And then I looked at them struggling because I planted so late and everybody else's onion looked so good and mine didn't look so good. So I started putting nitrogen on them, just try to get them big. I knew what date I was going to have to harvest them. About the date, you know, about the time I was going to have to harvest them, and they just weren't getting any size at all. So I went through there on more than one occasion and put some nitrogen on them, some triple 13. And, you know, not a ton, but some, you know, enough. Probably a cup every 20 feet. This is more than enough for us. And unless I really want to give some away and stuff, I'll just leave it like this. So anyway, the moral of the story is plant shallow and don't come through here with a bunch of nitrogen fertilizer. That will make them hot. Best onions I ever grew, were softball size, baseball to softball size. They were sweet as an apple. And all I did was on top of them, I just top dressed them. In my raised bed garden, I top dressed them with compost, just some bag compost I bought at the store. And they just were about a ½ inch compost on top of them, and they were sweet, got big and sweet. So I plan on composting these or putting a manure around these, something, and not putting nitrogen fertilizer. I want to make them sweet. So be careful with the nitrogen. It's going to make them hot, and don't plant them deep. That's the secret to getting onions big and sweet. That's what we want. We want them big. We want them sweet. All right, TP2, we are gone.